I'm Vicki.
Hi, I'm Ken.
Hi, I'm Jeff.
I'm Bud, and we are the Pickleball Krewe.
And welcome to the weekly installment of the Pickleball Krewe's podcast. The Pickleball Krewe is a group of pickleball fanatics based in southeast Louisiana, but passionate about all things pickleball anywhere. In this podcast, Ken will review area tournaments, and Vicki will provide us with a few of her always interesting shout-outs. Then the group will jump into a lively discussion of Major League Pickleball and some of the hybrid tournaments that have popped up in our area. Last but certainly not least, Jeff will share with us one of his many burrs under his saddle. And if you enjoy our podcast, please be sure to like and subscribe.
This is our 8th episode. We're really excited, and we hope you are. And as usual, we're going to start off with Ken and a tournament update.
Hey, thanks, Bud. So we've got a couple of changes here, a couple of updates. So let's get started. July 29th is the Daphne Doubles Tournament at Lot Park. This may be the last week we mention it. Registration does close July 24th. They're about 2/3 full. Go to www.daphnerecreation.com to register. In August, we have the Big Easy Tournament. That's August. It's really the 5th and 6th, but on Friday, the 4th, is open play for those who are registered, early registration, and there's also going to be food and drink. So the tournament is full, but you can still sign up and get on a waiting list, just in case. You never know. They are taking donation for paddles. This is for the 8th Ward underprivileged children. And from 12 to 3 o'clock on that Friday, the 4th, there's a clinic for the kids. So I have an address. You can actually order paddles and have them sent directly to Helen. If you need that address, get in touch with me. But it's a great cause, the 8th Ward children. And again, open play from 6:30 to 9 on Friday. The tournament starts Saturday morning and runs through Sunday at the New Orleans Hilton. That's the Big Easy Tournament. August 10th through 13th, the New Orleans Pickleball Fest. That's the Drew Brees Tournament at the New Orleans Convention Center. There, as of earlier today, there were 441 players registered. It's a multi-day tournament, so you're going to play Thursday and Friday, or Thursday and Saturday, or Friday and Saturday, depending on what group you're in, men's doubles, women's doubles, or mixed. And you could play a third day. Sunday is Championship Sunday. So the finals, and it may be more than just the finals, it could be semifinals and finals, will be held on Sunday. Most of the open divisions are full, but go online and check it out. Most of the 50-plus divisions still have availability. And if you go to Drew Brees, his foundation's website, there's a link to the tournament there where you can sign up. So also in late August, the 26th, 27th, we have 2 tournaments. One here in Baton Rouge for the Love of the Y. It's a sanctioned event. It's on Saturday and Sunday. It's at the Manship 10 Center in Baton Rouge. It's called For the Love of the Y. Ronnie Walters is hosting that. And the other tournament the same weekend is the Gastric Cancer Foundation Charity Tournament. That's in Foley Event Center. And you go to pickleballbrackets.com to register for that one. Going to September 7th through 10th, quickly, is the Fall Paddles at the Plex, Opelika. We usually have a big crowd at all of the Paddles of the Plex and other Opelika tournaments. It's a great venue to play. Registration has opened. That tournament's going to run from Thursday through Sunday. So go ahead and check that out. Late September is one we introduced last episode. This is the Pelican Park Pickleball Classic. So it was formerly the Pickled Pink that was being held October 7th and 8th. They've officially moved the tournament to late September. Registration opens August 1st. It's a Saturday and a Sunday. I encourage everybody to get involved in that one. Now it's not in conflict with the St. Francisville tournament, which was being held the same weekend in October. That leads us to October 7th and 8th, St. Francisville. I have not yet got a registration form or a link register for that, but there's no conflicting tournaments that weekend, so we're planning on being there and hoping everybody else will. They always put on a great event. October 14th, 15th in Vicksburg, Mississippi, there's 8 new dedicated permanent outdoor pickleball courts. This is going to be, it's called the 2023 Fall Brawl at Hallsbury Park. Women's doubles and men's doubles is on Saturday. Mixed doubles is on Sunday. It's $60 per person, and that gets you registration for 1 or 2 events, depending on what you want. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. I know Therese and Kathy, they're really going to do everything they can to put on a great event. And the last weekend in October, the 27th through 29th, Friday through Sunday, is the Halloween. It is full. You can get on the wait list because you never know. They'll have some people dropping out. That's in Baton Rouge at the Highland Park Tennis Center. Even just go and hang out. That's a great time. They've got a lot of raffles, auctions, silent auctions going on. And it's just a great tournament to be involved in. A couple of save the dates. October 4th and 5th is the Louisiana Senior Games in Baton Rouge. Also, the Canebrake Country Club in Hattiesburg. There's 12 outdoor courts, fairly new outdoor courts. And so those 2 tournaments are the first weekend in November. The second weekend in November is the Tom Burkhart Magnolia Classic. Registration is open, $50 per person. It's in Daphne, Alabama at Lott Park. This is an MMP event, not to be confused with MLP. That means it's a medal match plus. I actually had to ask Andrea to explain that to me because I hadn't heard of MMP. So what they're saying is all of the finals and some of the semifinals will be a ref match. So that's exciting. I think it's great. I always enjoy playing a match that's reffed. And so all the finals and many of the semifinals will have referees in that event. And not least but last, December 9th and 10th is the 2nd annual Americana YMCA Pickleball Invitational at Zachary. That is Chase Rigdon's tournament. Great job. It was a big turnout, a lot of fun. So that's all we've got now on the tournament update, Bud. Back to you.
Hey, one thing, Ken, you reminded me when you said, talking about Chase's tournament. Chase is putting on, I don't have the details on it and I don't know the date, but it's at the end of this month. He's putting on an MLP event, which we're going to be talking about later on in the podcast, toward the end of this month, I believe, but it's for 4.0 and below.
Oh.
So I'll try to get with him and get some dates for everybody for next week to figure out what day he's doing that. I just heard it through the grapevine. I haven't talked to him.
That's great. That's great.
Wanted to, yeah.
All right.
Go ahead,
All right.
Bud.
Thanks, Ken. Thanks for the update. Vicki, you have any shout outs today?
Just 2 quick shout outs. I wanted to send a shout out to Julie Brown with a big thank you for coaching the drillers group in the morning while we were away. And, I hear she gave homework and everything, so she put a lot into it, and I know she did a good job. Thank you, Julie. And I just wanted to actually send another quick shout out to all you guys out there in the drillers group who have been so kind to help me while I have my injured hand, unloading and reloading the car. You guys have been so helpful, and I just truly appreciate it. Just wanted to make sure to send a thank you shout out to you.
All right, Vicki, thanks for those updates and those shout outs. Now we're going to talk a little bit about MLP, and Ken is going to start us off.
Hey, thanks, Bud. So what we're really talking about today in this topic is MLP format. But just to jump into the format, we're going to talk a little bit about MLP, which is Major League Pickleball. Now, we're not attempting to be experts here, and we may overlook a few things and miss some of the details. Any comments you have, we appreciate if you put them down, after this podcast. But the key here is just to talk a little bit about the inception of MLP and the format of it and how it's now trickled down to area tournaments. So MLP is Major League Pickleball. It started in 2021, and they were just trying to bring pickleball to the masses and trying to bring some excitement along with it with some exhibitions, and started with about 8 teams. And the format of it is typically has been 2 men and 2 women, and you would play a men's doubles, a women's doubles, and 2 mixed doubles. So there's 4 matches in a game, and it's rally scoring, which means if you're not familiar with rally scoring, at the end of a rally, regardless of who served, whichever team won the rally would be awarded a point. And in traditional scoring in pickleball, we know that only the scoring team can score. So you'd actually play these 4 matches, 4 games to 21 points. And once one team got to 20, then they could only score additional points in the traditional format while they were serving. And it was a win by 2. So it was 4 games to 21. And if they happened to tie 2 games to 2 games, they played what's called a dream breaker, which is just a singles match where you alternate the 4 people on each team, where the first 2 will play 4 points and the second 2 will play 4 points, and you keep going until one team gets to 21. A big part of how this is how you determine the level of a player to be on the team for major and minor league pickleball and beyond is through a Duper rating. Bud, if you could just share a little bit about us, you're pretty knowledgeable about the whole Duper rating system. What does it stand for, and how does a player get a Duper rating?
Well, Duper has been around for a while now. It uses algorithms, pretty sophisticated algorithms to rate somebody, and you can get rated in a tournament. You can get rated in rec play. You can get rated in an event, and it's all different. The Duper does not take into account sex, gender, or age. So if you're a 4.0 in Duper, you're a 4.0 with everybody. So that there's no age distinction. And while I'm sitting here talking, Ken, I'm trying to think what Duper stands for. I know it's a dynamic
universal pickleball rating.
There you go. Yeah, I kept thinking digital, but it's dynamic. It's really a pretty neat way to do it. I played limited number of matches to get my Duper rating, and quite honestly, I think it's pretty fair. I don't complain about how they rated me at all. But Duper is gaining popularity. It's competing pretty well now with United States or USA Pickleball and their rating system. So we'll turn around and see. And one of the things Duper's doing is they're also pushing play at the collegiate level. They're really sponsoring and wanting to get people involved on the collegiate level. I looked today, University of North Carolina, UNC, is the #1 rated pickleball team on the NCAA. But I think right now it's not an NCAA sport. It's more of a club sport, but it is gaining popularity on the collegiate level. We've had one. The Pelican Park Pickleball Club has had one Duper event. We can have those. I would like to do one on the, using the Major League Pickleball format. It's kind of a hybrid what Marlana came up with, but I like it. I think it's a fun way to do it. So that's Duper in a nutshell.
That's a great explanation, Bud. That's a great explanation. And, coming from a tennis background with USTA, your rating changed annually, although there was a website that you could kind of monitor what direction your rating was being held. And I think with USAPA, your updates are quarterly. But with Duper, the second you enter a match, your rating is affected by not only your opponent, but the 2 people you played against and the outcome of the match. So with that said, great explanation, Bud. So that's kind of Major League Pickleball in a nutshell. And Duper actually even plays a bigger role. And Vicky's going to talk about minor league pickleball and how Duper plays a role in that.
That's right. So minor league is basically the same format. You're going to have 2 women, 2 men. You're still going to play men's doubles, women's doubles, and 2 mixed doubles. Same format to 21, same dream breaker. Everything's basically the same, but one of the bigger differences between these two is the divisions. So there's more than one division that you can set up with your tournament. And the first is Duper Open, and that is any level, and there's no cap. Here's a chance to stack your team if you want to, but there's no cap on the total rankings. So it is an open division. Then there's what they call Duper 22. And the average rating for these players is going to be 5.5, 5.5. And then you've got Duper 20, where your average player is going to be 5.0. Duper 18, average will be 4.5. Duper 16, average 4.0. And Duper 14, which would be 3.5 average for players. And when they say this, like Duper 14, just as an example, your average is going to be a 3.5 player, but you cannot exceed 14.30.
For the
Same
4
thing
players on your team, yeah.
For all 4 players, and the same thing with like Duper 16, 18, 20. 16 would be average 4.0 players, but you cannot exceed 16.30. The other thing that they do is you can have alternates. You can have 1 male and 1 female alternate on your team. However, the 4 players that are competing absolutely cannot exceed those division requirements. So you can't exceed the 14.30, 16.30. Otherwise, it's a very similar event, but the division certainly gives a lot more competitive edge for different brackets. So that's it. Back to you, Ken.
Great. So the popularity of the MLP has trickled down to local tournaments. And we've had a few tournaments here within driving distance, and one just in Hammond that drew a big crowd. And Jeff actually played in a tournament just last week. And I know Jeff's got a lot to share about the format of his tournament, the one he played in, and just really just talk about all aspects of the tournament that he was in and his thoughts on what he liked and disliked about it. So, Jeff?
So when you go to a dream breaker, the team that won the toss and decided to be the home team, now they have to throw out their lineup first in the dream breaker. And Ken spoke about dream breaker a while ago, but basically what it is each pairing will go against each other in 4 points of singles, and then they'll come off the court and the next two people will roll on. You play a singles game, rally scoring to 21. So once again, using mine and Ken's teams as an example, if we go to a dream breaker, which would be a 2-2 tie in the matches, I have to list my singles people 1 through 4. Ken sees that, and then he can match up his people against us in whatever best manner he feels like they have the best chance to win.
Jeff, can I ask a question here? How did you determine who was going to show their lineup first? How was that determined when you were in a match?
So it was a coin flip at the beginning of the match. Okay. And if I won the coin flip and I chose home, then we played our matches out. If we happen to end up 2-2, when you go to the dream breaker, then the other team automatically gets to be home there if they would like.
Oh, so they're home in the dream breaker if you're home for the 4 match?
Exactly.
Wow, that's interesting.
Now, a couple of things that I learned. One thing was I chose to serve first all day long if we had that decision, and that was not very good strategy on my part. In higher level pickleball, and it really, I say higher level, but lower level also, the serving team is at a disadvantage, and the serving team loses more points than because of the 2 bounce rule. You know, we all know that the receiving team has an advantage there. I didn't figure this out until I was talking with Evan Williams the following day. So you want to choose to receive if you have the choice, because your percentage of winning that point is probably going to be better if you receive. And it's just rally scoring. So you don't, it's not like you can serve, like in a regular game, 0-2, and you lose the serve, you don't lose a point. But in this, you lose a point because of the rally scoring system. Second thing that I figured out, and I had talked to some people, and I actually talking with Jason Turner, and when I got my team together, and I talked to them about how we were going to do a dream breaker, I told them, I said, all right, our best player was JP Padilla, so JP, you're going to be in the number 1 slot. It was kind of a toss-up between Steven Stedelman and J.R. Barrett, but I put Steven in the number 2 slot. I put J.R. in the number 3 spot. I put myself in the number 4 slot because I was the weakest of those 4 singles players in my estimation. But I told them, I said, guys, we're going to roll like this all day long. I don't care what kind of lineup they throw out there. And mainly, I wanted our horse, JP, because he was by far the best singles player on our team. I wanted him in that number 1 slot, like a leadoff batter in softball or baseball. You want your best batters to get up as many times as possible.
Right.
And that's how we rolled that day. We only went to 2 dream breakers. We were fortunate enough to win both of them. But that's definitely a kind of a strategy thing that people need to think about in this thing. I personally, I could be wrong, but I think that you're going to see more and more of these in the future.
Well, I think so.
It just had a totally different feel. It had a team atmosphere feel. The 2 people that are sitting on the sidelines, you're cheering on your team.
Right.
And you're trying to see things. You know how it is on the court. Sometimes it's hard for us to see in the midst of battle, but from the sidelines, you can see a lot of things clear as a bell. So we were trying to, in timeouts or side changes, we were trying to give each other as many tips and help. Hey, what to look for, or, look, this is working for y'all. Keep doing such and such. So that made it I don't know. It's just a different feel, and it was really, really good.
One of
Now,
the
did
things I
you
kind of like
go ahead,
about
bud?
it, one of the things I kind of like about it is it seems like these MLP hybrid tournaments are just kind of a last minute thing. It's not like, they advertise it and you get to register for 2 months.
Yeah.
You can put it together fairly easily. I personally would like to see something like this offered. I know you said Chase was going to do something with the lower level players, 3.5s and 4.0s.
Yep.
I'd love to do that.
Well, all the MLPs that I've seen so far have been upper level play.
Yeah.
But we need it to trickle down. I'm going to try to go get with Ascension Parish with Candace Venerable and Lissa Gaffney and introduce it to them in kind of a mock trial type thing with maybe 12 or 16 players, because it's too much fun not to share it with everybody.
Well, I'm kind of hoping Michaela with Gulf Coast Pickleball is watching this, and maybe this is something that she can put together.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the key to making it kind of competitive is that, like Vicki said, for the minor league, you have a duper 20 or a duper 18 or duper 16. And that way, if you do have a 4 or 5 player on a team, you've got to come in with a couple of 3-0 players to kind of to keep your composite rating, under whatever the level established is. So
exactly,
absolutely right. And in my opinion, I think having some super team that goes out there and just crushes everybody, that is not good for them, and it's not good for the weaker teams that get crushed. This style of format, the way that it is, it puts a level playing field. For the most part, the teams are going to be level. And I encourage any player out there that thinks, hey, man, I'm really good. Well, if you're really, really good, then you should be able to have an effect on your team. And it just, with close matches, I think overall, every person that played in that this past weekend, I think come out of it a better player, because it was such even competition. And I think that's, in my opinion, that's good for pickleball.
It sounds like it. It just sounds like it was an exciting event with a lot of good pickleball.
I'm ready to go back like right now and do it.
Well, again, my thinking is you had 40 people. That's not a lot for a tournament, but it's a lot of pickleball for those 40 people. You could have those kind of events, as opposed to trying to get 200 or 300 people together for a tournament. You could do it more often and offer a more of a variety.
And I think one of the exciting things about it is you don't know whose team you're on until the draft happens that morning,
Yeah.
Now, Jeff,
that's one way of doing it. But, quite honestly, another way is to have, have it so you have they're doing it at Cross Gates right now. We're doing an MLP league at Cross Gates. Pelican Park's got a group of guys that are playing. Stone Creek, the guys from Homa are playing in it. And that's a team that plays together every week.
Yeah, not to cut you off, and they can run their events however they want to. But I wish they'd have threw all those people in the hat and had a draft.
Yeah.
Right.
And mix and match. Mix you up with some Stone Creek people and Stone Creek up with.
That's one way of doing it, no doubt.
Yeah.
And that gives you a chance to play with people that you may have admired their game, and now you're on the team with them.
For sure.
But, and it goes both ways. It goes both ways.
So it was either you or Ken that mentioned, though, with the rally scoring, though, when you get to 20, you have to be the team serving in order to win. Isn't that correct?
That's correct. I wanted to go. I'm glad you said that. I wanted to go over that. So if I'm the first team to 20, okay, I have to win on my serve. They call it you're frozen there. Okay. Ken's team is catching up to us. Okay.
Right.
When they get to 18, they freeze.
Oh, really?
18. and then they can only score on their serve. So it's rally
Interesting.
scoring until you get to those two landmarks, and then you can only score on your serve.
That's interesting.
So win by 2. We had
Yeah,
one.
so you have to win by 2.
Yeah, we had one match that went 22-20, something like that. And that's just the kind of that rule is kind of neat in the fact that it when you get to 20 and say I'm serving and we serve 3 or 4 times and we can't get 21 and that other team is still scoring. Okay, it's an added pressure. It was a different pressure than what you would feel in a regular tournament.
Right.
Which we all know there's pressure there, but it was just a different feel. And a lot of them ended up fairly close, maybe 21-16, 21-18, something like that, because of that particular nuance to it.
This is one of those times when, and I was telling Ken, they said it on the tennis channel. Actually, it was on Wimbledon on ESPN. They were talking about how a lot of the pro tennis players are now talking about, they're speaking more about their performance and the fewer mistakes they're making, that they now know their game is, doing better with fewer mistakes. They're not talking about how many they put away and that sort of thing. And I told Ken, I said, that sounds just like pickleball. And here in this situation with rally scoring, you could see where that would really be a big factor.
I'm going to tell you, the one player that really stood out in this to me is Harrison Kilgore, because Harrison is very, very consistent.
Mm-hmm. He sure is.
Doesn't miss a serve hardly, doesn't miss a return, keeps the ball in play. And in rally scoring, very, very important. Very important. You can take some chances when you're serving and you're playing in a regular pickleball game, because if you take a chance, you can be more aggressive. If you're more aggressive, goes in the net, goes wide, you don't lose a point. But in this particular format, you better play it a little bit different and try to be more consistent.
Correct.
Or you find yourself losing a lot of points. You definitely don't want to miss a serve or return, for sure.
That's right.
Points.
So did you find, Jeff, more conservative play at a tournament like this? Like, hey, I know so-and-so's game, and they definitely, played a little more conservatively due to the nature of the scoring.
I think I did see that, Ken. Where if you tried a few risky things, which I'm not a big risk taker there. I feel like I'm a consistent player, so I feel good about playing in this. But the sleeper player on Brent Roy's team was Doug Cook. Doug Cook didn't do anything that was going to wow you or make fantastic athletic plays like this guy JP we had, or like a Brent Roy would make. But Doug Cook was as consistent as he could be, and he was like that. He was the X factor, in my opinion, on their team.
That's
Good
great.
job.
But Doug and Casey have spent a lot of time improving their game. They're doing a great job.
Well, I talked to Doug on the phone yesterday on the way to Pelican Park, and I was just commending him on how well he had played. And I said, "Tell me, is that one of the best tournaments you've ever had?" He said, "Jeff, it was. It was."
That's
he just played calm. He played consistent, and everything that we went at him with, because we went against him twice, everything that we went at him with, for the most part, he got it back and kept making us play and play and play. And that consistency, that's which their whole team was like that. And I mean, that's why they won first place.
Now, one point just for clarification, because you didn't have 2 men and 2 women on your team, you split up to play your first matches, and then you had to pick a different partner, correct, to play those second matches. So you couldn't repeat your teams in the second match.
Correct. Yeah. If I played with JP in the first match, then the other 2 guys played, JR and Steven. Then when we got to the third and fourth match, I could not play with JP again. I had to play my second match with one of the other two players, and that worked out good too. I liked it like that, where it's making us. I think the more people we have to play with, it's just my opinion. The more people you have to play with, the more you have to adjust to somebody else's style. And I think if you're open to that, I think it makes you a better player over time. Instead of just saying, I'm gonna play the way I'm gonna play, and I'm not gonna adjust at all. I don't know that works out real good.
Right. Got to be flexible.
Go ahead, Vicki.
I was just saying you have to be flexible. There's no doubt about it. I mean, you can't always dictate that.
I have a question about how did she pick which two teams got a bye in the beginning? Did she do a composite duper rating of everybody on each team and gave the two highest teams the bye, or?
I'm not sure how she did that, Ken. I'm not sure if she did a random draw or what, but two teams got a bye. And to be honest with you, whoever was lucky enough to get those two byes, especially with the heat situation, that was big. It was also very important to try to get a win your first round or two and not fall into the loser's bracket with the heat. And I tried to pick my team considering heat. I might have went a different route if we were in the fall and it was cooler.
Right.
We had some really good, consistent ladies players there. But I was worried about the heat situation. I was worried about the heat for myself, to be honest with you, and was darn glad that we won a couple matches to get on down the road some, because we were still playing. I think we finished up around 6:30 that evening.
So there was no if a team did have ladies, let's say they ended up with two ladies on their team, nothing dictated that those two ladies had to play together when it technically would be ladies doubles. You just mixed up your team however you wanted to.
It was just generic. You just mix them up, put them out there however you want.
Yeah, that goes back to something the guy from Duper told me when I signed up Pelican Park Pickleball Club. I asked him, one of the questions I asked him, does the Duper take into account gender or age? And he said no. And he said, think about it. If you're a 4.0 player, you're a 4.0 player. And it doesn't matter if you're a 25-year-old 4.0 or a 70-year-old 4.0. You're a 4.0. Same with gender. So they don't, nothing in their algorithm takes into account age or gender
that's a really good point. But I've said this to numerous people, because I hear people we were playing in a 4.0 division, but those young kids, they can move. Yes. Y'all, to me, brother, if you're really quick in your 4.0, or if you're an older guy like me and you're 4.0, you're 4.0.
Yeah.
I may not be as quick, but I think that's level there. I don't want to say that sounds like a Burr in My Saddle segment, but I don't ever look at it like that. I'm playing with the younger players if they're in my skill level, and I don't mind. That's a big difference.
That's a big difference with USA Pickleball rating system and Duper. USA Pickleball, I do believe, takes into account gender and age, which I like Duper. I don't think you should.
So the Duper rating, the other rating systems only takes account wins and losses, I'm pretty sure. The good thing about Duper, Bud, me and you can go play against 2, 4, 5 players, and if me and you lose 11-9, then our rating can actually go up because we played those two really good players so well.
Yep,
it takes into account your score. Even in a losing effort, which I think helps level things out.
Absolutely.
And for system, I think it's pretty spot on myself.
Yeah.
I know people don't like it, but I do.
I do too.
And isn't that how Michaela ran the tournament just passed? That it was all about ratings, not about age.
Right.
To me, that's what it should be.
And it seems.
I've told y'all before, I don't like the age thing, because I won a gold medal once and never won a game because I played in a tournament where they had different divisions.
Right.
Well, and this, speaking of that, like this tournament that we played in this weekend, sometimes we go to these tournaments like Bud, like you're saying, they're handing out medals. You just show up with a heartbeat and you get the medal.
That's what it was.
Well, that's the one thing about pickleball coming from playing in tennis tournaments is, pickleball somewhere around 50 or even 60% of players will end up with a medal.
Yeah.
In an MLP, just like this, 30%, right? You had 12 of the 40 people were awarded something. Either they got their money back, or they doubled their money, or they quadrupled their money, whatever it is. So.
Right.
Well, that's exciting stuff, Jeff.
Yeah, great. That's a good review, folks. I really enjoyed that. I think our vast audience will also.
I think it's a great topic, and it's a hot topic, and we're going to see more and more MLP formatted tournaments. There's no doubt about it.
I think you're right, Ken, and I think as people start playing in some of them, they're gonna be really excited, even more so than we're already excited about.
And all the traditional tournaments that we've been playing in, and there's all these new tournaments. We talked about in Tournament Update that are coming out. I think maybe some more of these tournaments might want to start considering the MLP format for their tournament. So,
just change.
Especially, you don't even need a partner. You just sign yourself up and you're in. For double.
Exactly.
Well, again, you could do it two ways. You could have a tournament where you have a duper team and play at those different levels that Vicki talked about. Duper 14, duper 16, or you could have just limit it to 3.5s and then have a draft, just like you did with that tournament. So there are different ways you can go that will keep it interesting.
And the way Marlena did it, so she took the first 40 that responded, they went on the list, they're playing. Then she had a waiting list of like 4 to 10 players. And she ended up needing all of those on the waiting list. And I asked her, I said, well, what if we got 44? She said, well, I might open it up to 11 teams and play an 11-team bracket. So you can, instead of having to mix and match, I know it's a headache for a tournament director trying to find partners for these singles that end up. You can just kind of level it out at 12, 16, 20, 24, on the floor.
Exactly.
And go with that number of teams. So that aspect, that would be easier on a tournament.
Yeah, 8 and 12 or in 16, those are the magic numbers for a bracketed draw. So
right.
Well, good stuff, Jeff.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
That was a good report.
Exciting.
All right. Well, that was a great discussion on Duper and MLP. And now Jeff has got another Burr under his saddle.
You're a burr under my saddle. You're a thorn sticking in my side.
If you're not sure that the ball is out, then it's in. It's in. You have to see color or space between that. Okay? I think some people they want it to be out, and if it's close, they just call it out and they're not really sure.
Yeah.
I've been playing pickleball now for 4.5 to 5 years. I've played in several tournaments, and I can't think of one time where I've had a discrepancy or some sort of argument with the people I'm playing with, because I owe it to the other side to be, the rules state that you have to be sure that the ball is out. Okay. If I'm not sure it's out, there's a couple of things I can do. I can refer to my partner. What did you see? Okay. And they can either confirm, or if me and my partner disagree, I say it's out, they say it's in. Well, then it goes to the other team. No questions asked. If you will follow the rules of how it's set up, you will not have a problem at a tournament or at rec play. Okay. But if you're one of those people that don't want to follow the rules, then you're going to end up in hot water because you're not sure. And me personally, I don't want any point that I didn't earn with my teammate.
That's right.
Is number one. Number two is I respect my opponents across the net enough to call it like it's supposed to be called. The other thing that you can do, now some people are just going to take this and run with it, but if I think it's out, I'm like, y'all, I think that was out. I can refer it across the net to the other team.
Sure. Yeah.
And hopefully whoever was on that line or whatever, hopefully they'll call it like they see it. They might say, Jeff, I really thought that ball was on the line. Or I've had them say, Jeff, we hit that ball out. Okay. So have some courtesy and learn the rules. Learn the rules. That's how that rule is set up. So that's my Burr Under the Saddle for this week. But hey, like I always say, if you make a bad call on me, I'll be okay.
All right, Jeff. Thanks for that Burr Under My Saddle.
All right.
Anybody else have anything else for this episode?
No, I think it was a great discussion. And it was good to hear Jeff's firsthand report about being in an MLP formatted tournament.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I hope we can all get in one soon, y'all. Soon. It's
All
going to
right.
be fun.
We're ready.
Okay, folks, that's it for this week. See you next week.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
guys.
Bye.
Well, that's it for this episode. We hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave any comments and please like and subscribe to our channel. Thanks again and see you next week.